future friends, my name is Stina. I say future friends because this is my first video. So, appropriate for a newbie, of course, is the BookTube newbie tag. My friend Kylie Graham is the one who told me I should do this, so check out her channel. That's literally the name of her channel, although I'll also link it below. So, I wrote these questions down shorthand, so they might not be word for word, but I'll also put those in the description in case you see this video and decide you want to make a YouTube and do it yourself. So, first question is, why did you start this channel? Good question. So, I've done stuff on YouTube before. I have a channel where I do like voice acting and abridging stuff in the anime community under the tag Mewvenus. So that's kind of my other thing. And I found that that was a really nice way to connect with people over, I guess, being a freaking weeb, that I wouldn't have met in real life, and it was really nice to find other people that enjoyed the same things I did. So I thought this would be a cool way to do the same thing with books, which honestly I probably read more than watch anime these days, so it felt very appropriate. Oh, what are some fun or unique things that you can bring to BookTube? I bring nothing to the table. Not really. I guess I would say probably the fact that I am an aspiring writer. I'm sure there are lots of those on BookTube already, but that also fits my bill, so I kind of read things from a writer's perspective, and additionally from a pagan perspective, which I don't know how common that is, but I consider myself a witch. So I read a lot of witchy books and a lot of, I don't know, non-fiction spirituality books in addition to fantasy and dystopia and all that other stuff. So that's something that definitely, I guess, plays into my analysis of a lot of books. It's a big reason I really, really hate the Iron Druid Chronicles. I just lost like 50 viewers. What am I most excited about in starting this channel? I'm just excited to talk about books. I write reviews occasionally on Goodreads, but it just takes a lot of time and effort, and I feel like I'm more natural when I'm speaking out loud. I tend to overthink. I guess I filter myself a lot in my writing because, you know, how do you love reading? Okay. I don't want to be that girl that talks exclusively about her mental illness. Not that there's anything wrong with that girl. I just don't want to be her. But I will say that I'm a person who has suffered from depression and social anxiety most of my life. Connected, apparently. Apparently because I'm socially anxious, it made me depressed, according to my psychiatrist. So there's that. There's my overshare. I'm going to have at least one of those a video, I can assure you. But I think that when I started reading a lot more often, it made me realize that I'm not completely alone, that other people like feel the way I feel, even if I'm only getting that through the lens of like a fictional protagonist. I'm seeing that I'm not completely alone in the way that I think and feel and the things I experience. So I like reading because it makes me feel more connected to other people, which in turn helps me manage my mental health. Book series that got me into reading. I don't want to be basic as hell, but this phone is definitely propped on top of Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire. That was probably one of the big series that got me into reading. I kind of had to smuggle it into my house because my parents were they kind of like were those witchcraft scare parents that didn't want me to experience anything magical, not because they thought children shouldn't have fun. Like, they weren't Dursleys, but they did think that I would like start worshiping Satan if I read Harry Potter or played Pokemon or watched anime. So that's a lot of stuff. And now this is propped on top of Harry Potter and leaning against a stack of my tarot cards. So figure that one out. But yeah, so that got me super into reading. The other series that's probably responsible for that is A Series of Unfortunate Events. Super depressing, but I don't know. It made me feel smart. I learned lots of new words from that series and lots of figures of speech, which was probably the whole point. So, good job, Lemony Snicket, you brilliant bastard. Challenges that will be hard for me to overcome in starting this channel. I don't know what question this is. I think it's like 6, whatever. Again, probably being a sad sack and not wanting to record all the time. I'm gonna have to make a lot of time. I work 40 hours a week, I have a dog, I'm done with school, thank God, but it's gonna be hard to find time and motivation, I think, to make a weekly show of it. But that is what I want to do, so hopefully eventually something like that works out. So yeah, I think that's just gonna be the main thing, is commitment. Next question is, when did you start reading? I definitely did it a lot in middle school, not so much in high school. I read maybe like 3 or 4 books a year in high school, like outside of the required curriculum. Maybe a little more, maybe like between 6 and 8 a year. But then like later in college, I started reading a little bit on Goodreads, and I set a goal for like, okay, maybe I could do like 40 books this year. That would be tough, but it's still worth it. And I read like 73 books that year. So I was like, oh shoot. So last year I was like, let's set the bar higher. We're going to read 100 books this year. And I almost didn't make it, but I beat it, like 103. So I guess 2 years ago would be when I really started like reading all the time as a hobby. And I don't regret it at all. I think that it's really made my life a lot better. Like I mentioned earlier, I feel like I've noticed a sharp drop in my depression. My depression, because I want to die all the time. Not really. My depression has been a lot better since I started reading a lot, and I feel like my social anxiety has really kind of subsided. Part of that is probably also owing to like medication or whatever, but I feel like it's been a nice supplement to that, and I've definitely noticed a difference for the better. Where do you read? I read at work, at home, like before bed. Sometimes I read like in the line at the grocery store when I have to go alone, like when my husband doesn't come with me. Pretty much anywhere I can bring a book, which is everywhere thanks to Kindle, so. And the last question is, what kind of books do you like to read? All the books. No. So, I think I mentioned earlier I like to read, like, pagan books and spirituality books. I read a lot of those. Definitely a minimum of, like, 10 a year. So, like, 10% of the books I read last year were probably spiritually based. Let's see, I love dystopia, both reading and writing it. I would like to be the next, I don't know, like Margaret Atwood or George Orwell or whatever. It's a hefty aspiration, but, you know, J.K. Rowling didn't write Harry Potter till she was older than me, so maybe that's a thing I can still do with my life. I really hope so. I also really like to read fantasy. I really love books about women who love other women where the lesbians don't die. Shoot. Yeah, I don't know. I like books like that. I don't actually read a lot of YA. I did read more of it last year just because I go on BookTube and everyone's like, yeah, YA is the bomb! And I'm like, I don't get it. So I did read some last year, and it did turn out to be pretty good. I added a couple to my favorites shelf. That's what this is over here. I think Battle Royale I would technically count as YA, just because it's about teenagers killing each other in the woods. Spoiler alert, it's better Hunger Games. Oh, I know. I'm like hating on all the stuff. I'm sorry. I'm not gonna do exclusively hate videos. There's definitely some of that coming, but I'm gonna try to be nicer because I'm here to make friends. I'm not here to start fights. Fangirl was super good. Y'all don't need me to tell you that. I'm sure everyone's read it, but that ended up being one of my new favorites from last year. And then Perks of Being a Wallflower, I loved quite a bit. So, yeah. I don't read a lot of YA, but there are definitely some that I really like. But yeah, if I look at my favorite shelf, like most of it is like historical fiction or dystopia. Also really weird books, like my friend Kylie, who I was telling you about earlier, we read Sourdough together last year. Like she read it and left all these notes, and then I read it and left all these notes, and then she went through and read my notes, and I was just like, oh, this is so much fun. So we're probably going to do that again soon. But really liked that one. So like weird sci-fi, dystopia, and then of course historical fiction type stuff. But frankly, I'll read anything. This section over here is my favorite poetry books, so, which I also write. So yeah, that was a really long, rambly way to say I will read literally anything I can get my hands on, but I have preferences like everyone else. That's all the questions that are in this tag. So yeah, if you have more questions for me or suggestions on things I should do videos on, I would love it if you dropped that in the comments. But until next time, nothing until next time. I'll just see you guys later, and that's all there is to it.